The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing. Here's your host, Matt Hansen.
Hey everybody, this is the Mastering Local Marketing podcast. He's Matt Hansen. I'm Jim Deedler. We're coming at you from Hammond, Indiana. And we try to give you some stuff that you can use for your business no matter where you are. Some of the fundamental principles in mastering local marketing. And there is nobody better in this, in the whole country really, to really concentrate on the small to medium-sized business than Matt Hansen.
Right. Well, I'm here to give those tips, those insights, because quite honestly, when you start talking to small and medium businesses, there's really not a resource out there, right? So many people are talking to the large companies, have tons and tons of money to spend, and I feel like somebody needs to give you a voice, and that's what we've done here. Is we're trying to provide those tips and tricks every single week, and that's why we do it at a minimum 2 podcasts every single week.
So one of the things, if you talk about big companies, and we actually, in the last episode, had Renee Tometz, one of the larger companies that we will do. I think there's 23 grocery stores here in Northwest Indiana. We really learned a lot about what their thinking is, but really it's all the same fundamental principles. Maybe theirs was 360 marketing, dynamic integration, and so forth. We try to say, hey, concentrate on one thing and do it well. And then sometimes you are concentrating on one thing and doing it well. You're trying to get people to review your business, and then all of a sudden the unsatisfied customer goes to social media and just blasts you with a bad review. That is a horrible feeling, because at the beginning, as a small business, you feel like there's nothing you can do.
Right. Yeah, I think your first bad review is kind of an eye-opening experience. You take it a little personal. And the reason that I wanted to talk about this today, and you're going to laugh about this, is I was sitting there. It's been probably 3 weeks, and we've got this kitchen faucet at home that's been going out, right? And my wife has been sending me all of these, buy this one, buy that one. And she doesn't look through the reviews to see where they're at and, all this fun stuff, right? So I'll look through it and I'll go, we're not getting that one. And she says, why? That's perfect. And I say, well, I read the reviews. I've gone through, I've seen the problems. And it was all of these different things. And we're talking about the Home Depots, the Lowe's of the world, and even Amazon trying to find the next faucet for, the Hansen kitchen. And you're reading these reviews, and there are bad ones where they're just like, this is a piece of garbage. And then there are ones that are legit, that are talking about it lasted a year, it started to flake, it worked a hole in it,
the gasket wouldn't hold it.
Right,
yeah.
Something, the sprayer is plastic, and it's all these fun things, right? So we went through and we're looking at all these faucets, and it was a timely, and the reason I'm saying this is literally on Sunday, my wife was spraying something in the sink, and the sprayer went the other way through the kitchen and shot my son, who is now home from college. And I said, well, I guess it's that time. And I had just ordered a new faucet online that had great reviews. It had 1 or 2 bad reviews, which, okay, fine, I get it, right, that you're going to have those bad reviews. But it started making me think here. We haven't talked about reviews yet, and many people take them personally.
Oh,
right? Like
that's the first thing I read, man.
It's an attack on you, and that's what everyone takes it. And I think the longer you're online, the more reviews you're going to get, good or bad. There are going to be people that absolutely hate what you have to say or do, or the products that you offer, and there are people that absolutely love what you've done. So the first thing that you have to understand is don't ever take it personally. I think people, if you're walking down the street and somebody says, hey Jim, I hate that shirt on you, you're gonna look at them, what are you talking about, right? Or they start calling you names or whatever. You take it personally, but you have to, in real life, you have to react appropriately. You're not going to start throwing fists with somebody walking down the street unless that's what you're into, which probably not our listeners in the first place. But look at it and say, do I really, am I going to take this personal, step back and go, all right, let's look at this, right? So the goal is really in this is to not win an argument with somebody, because we all know that doesn't work. I mean, you've been married a long time. I've been married a long time. Arguments are not there to be won or lost. If you've got a successful marriage, you know that, right? So we're not in it to argue with these individuals. It really just comes down to, you have to listen and go, all right, what are they attacking? Is it legit, or is it just hearsay? And I think that's the hard part, because many people want to go out there and start swinging fists, but if you do that, it's all public. People are going to see it. You start to lose your brand's credibility. Don't do that. I mean, that is the number one thing, is take a deep breath, walk away from the review. And you know how they say sleep on it, don't send an email when you're angry, those types of things. Same thing with reviews. Just sit back, walk away from it, come back at a later date and really kind of understand, I've got to respond to this in some capacity.
There's a parallel here, and some of the listeners might be familiar with crisis communications. Crisis communications is how I came up in working in the 1980s for a guy who used to be the editor at the Chicago Sun-Times. And we would get people always that were having trouble with their media coverage. I think one time it was an alcohol treatment place, and someone had gotten out and caused some problems in the community, and now they wanted to close it down. And there was another they had a E. coli scare or E. coli incident in their kitchen. They cleaned everything, and how do you deal with it? How do you rebuild that communications? I always look at these reviews and say, you got to have the same attitude that this editor, Dennis Quinlan, gave to me for the Chicago Sun-Times. He's like, listen, 99% of the time, the best response is no response. And I've always held that, because now once in a while people will call me with a media problem or some bad reviews. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that is the thing. And it just, echoes inside my head is 99% of the time, the best response is no response. Doesn't mean that you don't build a strategy so that doesn't happen again, but to go directly at that comment or go directly at that media that has given you a bad article, it almost always backfires.
Yeah. Again, you're not out to fight with customers. You're not out to fight with these individuals. And, when you get a bad review, there's two ways that you can really go with this. You can go with, well, I just lost a customer, and that customer is now off and probably bad-mouthing me somewhere else. Or you can go, well, I can go the positive route, and I can try and fix these types of things. So I can go out there and I can apologize. I can say, would love to have a conversation with you offline to remedy the situation. Let's give me a call at whatever the phone number is, or send me an email, DM me, whatever it may be. If you do that, you might be able to remedy the situation, and then you can respond later and say, we fixed it by doing these types of things. If you do that, you realize too that if you make a customer unhappy and then you bring them back, they will share that experience with somebody else, right? So if somebody badmouths you on your Google feed or your Google business profile, and you respond to that and they say, hey, I would love to sit down. We saw you were a customer 3 weeks ago. Would love to have a conversation offline. I'm going to reach out to you on the phone number on file. Please look forward to our phone call, right? That shows that you are responding to it, right? So I'm not ignoring it. I'm literally, if I'm reading these reviews from a customer point of view, I see that when something goes bad, you're not ignoring me. Now, I'm not saying that we've remedied the situation offline, but I am saying that you took the initiative to try and fix the situation, or at least have a conversation about it. So you've de-escalated it from the crisis situation of being online with reviews and all of this that can really kind of harm you, You've pulled it offline. You can have those conversations and try to fix it. Odds are you're not going to escalate it either on the phone or via email. I always like to do it on the phone instead of in print, just because I don't want people copy and pasting
lifting quotes out of context.
Yeah, out of context, which we all know is bad.
So I want to clarify that. I don't mean that you don't respond. Mm-hmm. I mean like you don't confront.
Right.
That's what I'm looking at. And there are ways to respond to, hey, if it's a reporter on a bad article, or if it's a bad review, it can actually be a constructive moment. Right. You might learn something about that you're not doing and that kind of thing. But to just go out and say, you were a mouthy customer anyway, and I'm not surprised that you're not happy. Yeah. And that you see those responses from businesses sometimes. And I'm like, that's kind of tone deaf at some level.
I have had those customers, consulting customers, and have told them repeatedly, please stop doing this.
Yeah, do not antagonize.
And it's built in their DNA, and I've parted ways with plenty of people that I've worked with that do that. It is not a good look. And then they start wondering why people aren't showing up to their business anymore.
In your little outline here, you're like respond promptly and professionally and that kind of thing. The promptly really gets there. If you are going to respond, and I have this with one of the software programs that I know, it's a map thing, and I know the guy who developed it and everything, and every time there's a problem, it isn't an automated response. Mm-hmm. Now, AI could probably make it sound, but you could tell it's him. I know him, and he wrote it, and that's how he talks and everything. It's automatically, hey, please, email me here, and we'll address this feature that you feel is missing from the software. But it's within a few minutes every time. Now, he's probably got big alerts for bad reviews, but that's important to do it right away.
It is. I have another example. Years ago, there was this instant messaging app that we used at one of the companies that I worked at, and it was kind of like a mobile app that we used, and we could go back and forth. And it was before, obviously technology where it is today. But when I reached 10,000 instant messages on this platform, it was tied to my back then Twitter account, and it posted, Matt Hansen just sent his 10,000th instant message using this company. And I wrote back on it, and I said, don't you love it when technology talks for you when you didn't want it to? And they instantaneously got back to me and said, here's how you turn that feature off. Sorry for doing that. I was like, oh, right? We're talking probably 10, 15 years ago. And it was amazing how fast I went, oh, okay, you're listening. I love that. I turned it off. I didn't have any other issues with it. But I still continued to use that service while I was working with that company. And who knew, right? That was, to me, it was a negative I put out there. They came back with, here's how to remedy that. And I was like, okay, I'll continue using it. That's fine. It's, it was a little setting that I should know about. And now it's gone.
Let's circle back to the apology. Mm-hmm. Can that work?
Yeah. I think what people are looking for is not confrontation. We set certain expectations and we didn't deliver. So going back to the faucet thing, right? I put this new faucet in. My wife's like, it's okay. I'm like, I love it. It's great. This is perfect, right? We've been in our house for 19 years and we've had the same faucet. So that tells you how well the last faucet was going.
Kohler or Moan?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. But that was we can get into that some other day. But from apologizing and kind of looking at, if I'm going to set a faucet in my kitchen, it's a pain in the butt. I don't know if you do any plumbing, but you got to climb up underneath. There's plumbing in the way. There's two individual sinks that were in the way.
It's easy to put them in backwards.
Yeah, I actually bought one that you install from the top, which was great. It's kind of a cool little thing. But what I'm saying is, we will put a review out there because there was a certain expectation that we had, and it didn't meet that expectation. Right? I've probably left maybe 3 reviews in my entire life, and they've all been negative, and it's just pushed me totally over the edge. And I thought, this is crazy. I can't believe. I mean, one of them was there was a little sticker on my car that showed in low temperatures what your tire pressure should be, and in high temperatures what your tire pressure should be. And then it had some other numbers on there. So I came out of an oil change that I was getting, and my tires were 45.
Ooh, that's heavy.
It was like 45, 42, 33, and 30. And I went, did you just read the sticker? And I posted a picture of it, right? No response whatsoever. I had been going to that place for years, and all I was looking for was just like, can you tell your team that they're messing cars up by doing this? I had to go home and, obviously fix everything. But that's what I mean. Like, you should at least apologize and say, oh, I'm not quite sure why that happened. We'll be happy to look at that. Please bring it back. We'll fix it right away. I would have probably taken that review down. It's still out there today. But that's what I mean. Like, there are certain expectations that you have, and you didn't meet those expectations, which is why a negative review comes out in the first place. It's somebody saying you messed something up really, really bad, and that's why it's here. So apologizing and trying to make it right, well, many times people pull it down, or they'll add, a second part to it and say, they called me back, they brought me back in, they made it right, great customer service. I would give them a 5-star at this point.
When do you report one?
Usually that's your little trolls that are out there. It's, maybe it's a competing company that wants to knock your reviews down or something like that.
Dated somebody's sister in high school and it didn't go great.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, I want to hammer this guy.
Yeah. So all of a sudden you've got 50 5-star reviews, and all of a sudden there's 3 that come in negative and there's no comment. It's just, okay, I'm sorry. Let's be honest what's happening here. So you can kind of report those coming in. But, really bad reviews will have a description most of the time. Think about it, right? So you're fuming. I can't believe they did this. I'm going to give them 1 star, and I'm going to explain the full story. You'll get paragraphs that people will put out there. But if you start to see all of these negative reviews, 1 stars, and nobody's saying anything, it's one of 2 things. It's either somebody trolling you, right? Some idiot out there, or it's a bot that's hitting your account. Take a look for that, right? So if you're getting negative reviews, consistent negative reviews that are 1 star, there's no comments, there's no way. I mean, human nature, when we're wronged, we want to tell people why we were wronged. I gave you a 1 star because of this. It's not, I'm going to give you a 1 star and walk away. It doesn't happen that way.
That it's basically a public way to give feedback on your business. Right. Now, obviously, some people have bad motives, but sometimes it's just like, hey, you know what? You're not getting it. And one of the main ones that, when I'm looking at things, I just ordered a set of irons, and I researched the crap out of it because I'm not going to go and get fitted and all that. Right. I know what I want. And one of the ones was that, this is great. These are great irons and everything, but, it says 7 to 10 days. I waited 42 days, that kind of stuff. Slow service is like one of the biggest ones that shows up in these reviews. What do you do if you get 3 or 4 of those?
So you'll see trends that'll populate in your reviews. And if you're ignoring those trends, you're not fixing your business. And that's really, you wait 42 days for your irons to show up.
They had so much business because they were such good irons, but they weren't telling people to wait.
Yeah. We saw this a while back when you had a bunch of these drop shipping Shopify stores popping up, and it was taking 30, 45 days for goods to show up at people's houses, and they were throwing a fit over it. So, when I sit down and I start talking to somebody that wants to do drop shipping, the first thing I say to them is, how are you going to fix the shipping issue, because it takes forever? Now, I know we've got changes that are going on right now, but what we want to do is we want to look at the reviews, and we want to say, all right, what are the 3 things that populate often, and how do we fix that? Because honestly, if you fix that, those bad reviews are going to disappear, and your good reviews are going to skyrocket, right? So, shipping is an issue. Start talking about, all right, how do we speed this up? Do we need a different vendor? Do we need to do we need to have inventory close to us that we can access quickly, right? So, if something's taking 45 days to get to you, there's something wrong with our supply chain at that point. So how do I get more product faster? Do I start predicting sales, having inventory coming in faster than we need it? Is it pricing? Is it a certain individual that is being named over and over in these reviews? And you see this a lot. They'll say, "Oh, Jim was amazing, but Janet, she didn't want to help me at all." And you start to see names populate in there over and over and over again. And then you have to sit down with Jim or Janet and have that conversation and say, "Janet, we've had 5 bad reviews in the last month, and every one of them has mentioned your name. What is going on? We need to fix this." And use it as a marketing tool and go, all right, we're going to make our business better. Let's look at the negative reviews and fix what's there, because the positive will continue as long as we're doing our job.
Matt Hansen is hired to look at people's processes and so forth, and that costs money. But these reviews are free.
Right.
Now, is it the kind of thing that you get what you pay for, or do you have to give them value?
You got to give them value, right? So reviews are free. Basically build a strategy behind it, right? So every time you have a customer that comes in, figure out a way to get them to review your business, your service, whatever it is, right? If you're not, you're leaving a ton of money on the table, because you mention your HVAC buddy every once in a while. When you're looking for, I've got a company that I work with that sells tires. You do a search online, and what happens is the local listings pop up, and the reviews are key, right? You start looking at the reviews. They have 57 reviews, and 99% of them are positive. This one has 3 reviews. This one has 0 reviews. Okay, I'm going to go with the 57 because 99% of them are positive. I'm going to have a great experience there. So, you start to look at money, right? What's the cheapest? What's the best value? But you also want to have good customer service. So these reviews are honestly one of your best marketing tactics that you don't control, other than suppressing the negative ones that are out there. And if you're not paying attention to the reviews, trust me, it's going to hurt you in the end.
Should you ask your loyal customers?
I would ask every single person that buys from you that is leaving with a smile on their face. I would create some kind of program. There are many tools that are out there. I mean, in the last podcast we were talking, she said Renee was using QR codes. You can use a QR code direct tied to your Google business profile. But, use some kind of system to gather those reviews. If somebody's having a negative interaction with you in store, odds are you're not going to be pushing that, right? So it's an ability for you to kind of take it and run with it and say, here's all these positive interactions that we're having, but on the negative side, pay attention to it. You don't want to give a negative customer and say, hey, leave us a negative review. No one would ever do that, but use the review to build a better company as you move forward.
So let's circle back to the beginning. Don't just immediately shoot back and fight with them or confront on it. Try to find as much positive out of it as you can, and sometimes dealing with it offline or each one's kind of different. But in the end, what's the goal?
The goal is really for you to learn a little bit about yourself, right? So reviews are there to review you and your company, the expectations that customers have. And if you are not doing a good job, you will see the negative reviews come in. So if you've got 100 reviews and only 10% of them are positive and 90% of them are negative, that's telling you shouldn't be in business, right? Let's be honest. If it's on the flip side and you're saying, well, 90% of them are 5-star and we have the occasional 1-star, 3 stars or whatever it may be, we're probably doing a pretty good job, but there's room for improvement. we all want to have 100% reviews that are positive, but it's never going to happen. You're going to drop the ball, right? Like, it doesn't matter what athlete. Michael Jordan talks about all the shots that he's missed through his career, not the ones that he's made, right? And that he's taken thousands and thousands of shots that have missed, especially, the ones at the end of the game, but we always remember the good ones. So what we're saying here is literally use reviews to learn about yourself, use reviews to market your company, and use them to make adjustments, because in the end game, what we're really doing here is we're trying to build a better business. So use them to your advantage. Sleep on it. Don't respond to the negative person that's out there as soon as you get it. Walk away from it. I think that's the best advice that we can give, because too many people will just shoot off an email or shoot off a comment, and that just makes you look childish. I mean, nobody's going to want to shop with you at that point.
Well, I think, the overall attitude that you're presenting then is pay attention to your reviews, encourage reviews, and learn from your reviews.
Without a doubt.
All right, there it is. Matt Hansen. This has been Mastering Local Marketing. Till next time, see you later.
The Mastering Local Marketing podcast helps local small business owners like you understand what it takes to successfully market your business and drive new customers through your doors. We provide actionable insights, interview leading experts and business owners in various industries, as well as provide tips and tricks we've uncovered over the last 25 years in the field. Whether you're starting your business or you've been at it for decades, let us provide you with the education and resources you need to grow your customer base. It's time to start mastering your local marketing.
Fall is all about cozy comforts, but when you're prioritizing your health, it's easy to feel like you're missing out. With Hero Bread, you can enjoy all your fall favorites because they're made with Hero Bread sliced bread loaves, tortillas, bagels, dinner rolls, and more. Try their all-new Hero Noodles with 12 grams of protein and just 80 calories. So skip replacing every carb with cauliflower and indulge in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner time favorites while still hitting your goals. From breakfast bagels and meal prepped enchiladas to mouth-watering burgers and cheesy noodles. You won't believe Hero Bread's options have 0 to 5 grams net carbs and are high fiber from the taste and texture. They've even got small batch drops of indulgent favorites like the popular Hero Croissant. And right now, Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use code FALL25 at checkout. That's fall25 at hero.co. All figures are per serving of Hero Bread. Contains 2 to 18 grams of fat per serving. See the product nutrition panels on hero.co for more information.